forward to this video, and today is a really special day because it's a video that so many of you have been asking for such a long time, and I'm really pleased to say it's finally here, and it's a video all about tattoo needle depth. Now, not only am I going to be showing you the right depth to tattoo at, but I'm going to be going way beyond that and showing you how you know that you're tattooing at the right depth. I'm going to be explaining what happens when you go too deep, when you go too shallow. Literally everything you need to know about tattoo needle depth is going to be covered right here in this video. Now, this video has probably took me about 12 months to put together, and the reason it's took so long to come out is because I've really wanted to cover and condense every single point and make sure that it's right first time for you guys to see. I've even learned how to do a little bit of animation. I'm certainly not beginning any jobs at Disney Pixar's anytime soon, but hopefully I've done a good enough job for you guys to fully understand the points I'm making. Now, really quickly guys, before we get into this video, I will say, if you are serious about learning tattoo needle depth and techniques about tattooing, I strongly recommend that you don't skip any parts of this video and you watch this video from start to finish. It's only going to be about 15 minutes, so if you put 15 minutes by guys and watch the whole video in its entirety, I think you're going to really benefit from it. Now, I put so much time and effort into this video guys, and I'm really excited to bring it to you, and I'd love to know your thoughts on it. So if you could please drop a comment in the box below after you've watched it, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell, and then you'll stay up to date with all my latest uploads. With all that said guys, let's not waste any more time and get straight into this video. Okay guys, so we're just going to take a regular arm and zoom in on the skin. Obviously for the purpose of this video it's highly exaggerated. So basically the skin is made up of three main layers. We've got the epidermis, the dermis and hypodermis, also known as the subcutaneous layer. Now the epidermis, that's the layer that provides the waterproof barrier to our skin. It's also the layer that's responsible for shedding skin cells and renewing itself. We've got the dermis, which is the more stable layer of skin cells. Also located here is the hair follicles and sweat glands. And then below that we've got the hypodermis, and this is essentially a layer of fat. It's not even a layer of skin, it's a layer of fat cells. So here's our tattoo needle. So this is what happens when we tattoo the epidermis. So this results in a really weak looking line, a really patchy looking work. And this can usually be seen straight after a tattoo's done. If you see, you know, some tattoos on the internet and they look quite dodgy, the lines look really patchy and things like that, and you zoom in on them, they look really weak. The most likely cause of this is because the tattooist, whoever's done it, they've not gone deep enough and they've just gone into this top layer of skin, the epidermis. And usually tattoos that are done by this, by the time they've healed, most of them, if not all of the ink has fell out. So we move on and go a little bit deeper into the dermis. This is where the ink loves to stay. So when you tattoo into the dermis, the ink stays nice and crispy, it's nice and clean, nice and solid. And when the ink's been tattooed into this layer, the tattoos tend to heal really nice. And when they're fully healed, they still look nice and fresh, nice and solid, and nice and readable on the skin. Now when the needle goes below the dermis into the hypodermis, this is the layer that's responsible for blowouts. Now I'll cover blowouts in an in-depth video, and I'll stick a card up on the screen. If you click on that, it'll take you to that video at the end of this one. But basically, tattooing into the hypodermis, it's essentially like if you imagine taking a piece of paper and wetting it, and then drawing over the top of that wet paper with a marker pen. What the marker pen would do, instead of it being nice and crispy on that piece of paper, it starts spreading out and going all blurry, and that's basically what the ink does if you tattoo it into the hypodermis, and that's what we call a blowout. Now blowouts, you can usually see them straight away. Some blowouts develop over a few weeks, and really bad ones, they can even look like bruises on the skin where the ink has spread out that much. So now we know we should be placing the ink into the dermis. What we need to know is, how do we do it? Now the dermis is roughly 2 millimeters deep below the surface of the skin. So one way would be to set the needle so it's hanging out the tube only 2 millimeters and then dragging that tube across the skin. That way we can ensure that the depth that you're going in the skin is 2 millimeters because you've already measured it coming out your tube. Now this is called riding the tube. Now I personally feel this is a really limiting method, and it's not a method I ever use for tattooing. I've never taught my apprentices to do it, and I know some people will disagree with this, and I'm not saying that it's a wrong method to use. I'm just saying personally for me it's not a method that I ever use, and I discuss why I don't use this method in another video. I'll stick that card up on the screen, the pros and cons of riding the tube. Again, like the other one, if you click on that it'll take you and you can check out that video after this one. So if you're not riding the tube, the other method is called floating the tube. Now with this method you leave your needle hanging out the tube quite a lot, and then you control the depth by pressing the needle into the skin with your hand, and you're essentially controlling the depth of the needle with your hand. So using this method you wouldn't ever press onto the skin and push the end of the tube right down to the skin, because obviously you'll cause yourself a massive blowout because the needle will go far too deep. So you're controlling that depth with your hand, and it's a method that takes a little bit longer to get used to, and it takes a bit more practice, but I think learning this way will open so many more doors to you as opposed to riding the tube. Again, just my personal opinion. Now the best way to ensure that you're going to get the right depth is to first make sure that you've got a good stretch on the skin. Now so many people overlook this, especially apprentice and when they're first starting out, and they forget to stretch with their stretching hand, and it's really important to get a good stretch on the skin. I also cover this really in depth in another video. I'll put that card up on the screen and you can check that out. But getting a good stretch is essential to hitting the right depth and also pulling a nice crispy line. So I'm assuming now that you've got a good stretch. I'm assuming that you're going to control the depth of the needle with your hand. So basically the way to ensure that you're going to get the right depth is to do this. And it's what my mentor taught me, and it's to basically, in your head what 2 millimeters is, even if you need to look at a ruler or anything like that, and visualize what 2 millimeter is, and then you're basically visualizing that 2 millimeter and then putting that needle into the skin, and essentially you're guessing 2 millimeters into the skin. So you put that needle into the skin, you pull that line, pull a little line, then take the needle out and then wipe off. Now if the line is really weak and really patchy, or even not visible at all, then I'm 99% sure that you're too shallow. And then what you'd be doing there, you'd be obviously in the epidermis, what we just spoke about. So what you do in this case is you'd go slightly deeper, and when I say slightly I mean a fraction deeper to what you previously did, and then you pull the line again, and then you'd wipe off and you'd check to see your line again. When that line becomes solid, that is when you're at the right depth. Now when my mentor used to teach me how to do this, it'd tell me, you should be hitting the right depth after no more than 3 attempts. And you'll find that these attempts will get less and less. You'll get it down to 2 attempts. You might even start nailing it first time. And that for me is essentially the best way of hitting the right depth, is just basically, it's practice. And it's like anything, it becomes easier with time. and obviously once you've got used to hitting that right depth, your hand kind of gets a muscle memory and it just knows how far to put that needle in, and you'll be hitting that right depth every single time. And it's just a matter of trial and error in the beginning, and like I say, erring on caution, pulling that first line, checking it. If the line's weak, going slightly deeper, pulling it again until that line's crispy. As soon as that line is solid and crispy, you're at the right depth, and keep it at that. Now, another important point to make is when you are at the right depth, again mentioning the stretching, but in your stretching hand you will, it's a little bit difficult to describe obviously on a video, but you will notice a different kind of vibration in your stretching hand when you're hitting the right depth, and it feels like almost like if you put your hand on top of a bass speaker when there's like a low hum of bass, and that ever so slight vibration in your hand, it's kind of like that. And that also is an indication that you're pulling a line at the right depth. So as weird as that sounds, and hopefully that comes across and I'm making sense. So you're looking for the line being crispy, feeling this vibration in your stretching hand, and obviously controlling the depth with your actual tattooing hand. Now, a really important point to make also is solid line isn't just about needle depth and stretch. There are other elements involved to it, and all these elements need to come together as one to pull a nice solid line. And I do cover this in another video, how to tattoo one pass lines, and I'll stick that card up on the screen, and you can also check that out as well. But this video is primarily about hitting the correct depth, so it's just one of those elements. But once you've watched this, if you haven't seen how to tattoo one pass lines, I think that video will be really helpful for you as well. So to conclude this video, I'm just going to cover some myths now, and some of those myths are, some people say larger needle configurations require you to go deeper into the skin, as opposed to smaller needle configurations you need to go shallower, and this is a myth, because like I've just showed you, there's the the epidermis, the dermis, hypodermis. Regardless of needle size, the ink needs to go into the dermis. So hopefully you can visualize that now and realize that it doesn't matter how big the needle is, it doesn't need to go deeper, because going any deeper is just going to cause a blowout. Going any shallower is going to cause obviously ink to fall out. So this myth, I personally think when people saying large needles need to go deeper, comes from the misunderstanding of, if you've got a large needle, let's for example say an 18 round liner. When an 18 round liner is being pushed onto the skin, there's more needles, so there's more skin resisting those needles being pushed into the skin. So what needs to happen is, what the larger the needle configuration is, the more pressure that you need to put on your tattoo machine, pressing into the skin, for the needles to actually penetrate the skin. Now, as soon as those needles have penetrated the skin, they just need to go to the dermis, to the second layer, as opposed to a really smaller needle configuration, let's say a 3 round liner or a 5 round liner. Then these will take considerable less amount of pressure going into the skin, hardly any pressure at all, and these needles will just fly into the skin, so hardly any pressure is needed at all. So I think it is worth noting, especially on this as it's a needle depth video, that if you are using larger needles, don't go any deeper, just apply a little bit more pressure, and there's a massive difference between that. So to summarize guys, if you've got a good stretch and you're pulling lines and the line is nice and solid and crispy, and you're going into the skin roughly 2 millimeters, the chances are you are hitting the right depth.
Thank you so much for watching this video guys, it means so much to me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you have subscribed, don't forget to hit the notification bell, and that way you'll stay up to date and you won't miss out on any of my latest uploads. Check out my other videos, comment in the box below, give it a like guys, and I'll see you in the next one.